Rama Rama Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parirajikacharya Shota Shota Shishimad, His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, Shri Caitanya-caritāmṛta Ki, Go Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. There's a way to connect the TV and the iPad AirPlay. Okay. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jai Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jai Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vinda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jai Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vinda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yeah, database has dark mode now. Sneakily read at night. All right. Jai database. So we're reading from the Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta Ādi-līlā, beginning with text 80 of chapter 3. Bhagavat Sandarbha Gantera Mangala Charane E Shoka Jiva Gosani Kaya Chenryakhane. Want to give it a chant? Bhagavat Sandarbha Gantera Mangala Charane E Shoka Jiva Gosani Kaya. So this is speaking about the Grantha, the book of the Bhagavata Sandarbha. What is the other name for this book? Sat Sandarbha. So Bhagavat is the whole, because the whole book is about the Bhagavat, Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavata Sandarbha, which later became known as Sat Sandarbha. Bhagavat Sandarbha Granthera, this book. E Shoka, this verse, Jiva Goswami, Kariyachena has made Vyakyan in explaining. Translation. In the auspicious introduction of the Bhagavata Sandarbha, Shri Jiva Goswami has given the following verse as an explanation. So this is speaking about it's the explanation of the 52nd verse of this chapter, which is Krishna Varnam Tisha Krishnam Sangoparsha Sango Pangasha Uparsha. Yag. That one's a little bit tender. Sanga Upanga Parshadam Pangashtra Parshadam, the weapon. Yeah. So this verse is coming up. This is saying this is going to be the explanation of the verse, and that's text 81. Anta Krishna Behir Goram Darshitangari Vaibhavam Kalo Sankirna Jaisma Krishna Chaitanya Ashritaha Anta Krishna Mahir Gora Darshitangari Vaibhavam Kalo Sankirtana Jaisma Krishna Chaitanya Ashrita. Okay, Ryan, what does the first line mean? Anta Krishna. Bahir Nishingo, Hidaye Nishingo. Bengalis get it easy. That if you're in Mayapur, the exit sign says Bahir, outside. And what is Anta? Antaryami. Inside. Interior. Anta. Interior. Inside Krishna, outside Gora. Inside Krishna, outside Gora. Darshita, displayed. Anga, limbs. Adi, beginning with Vaibhavam, expansions. Hello, in the age of Kali. Sankirtana Ajay, by chanting, congregational chanting. Sma, certainly. Krishna Chaitanyam, unto Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ashrita, shelter. Translation. I take shelter of Lord Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is outwardly of a fair complexion, but is inwardly Krishna himself. In this age of Kali, he displays his expansions, his angas and upangas, but performing the congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Purport. Srila Jiva Goswami has placed this verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, quoted in text 52, Krishna Varnam Visha Krishnam, as the auspicious introduction of the Bhagavata Sandarbha, or Sat Sandarbha. He has composed this text 81, which is in effect an explanation of the Bhagavatam verse, as the second verse of the same work. The verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam is enunciated by Karbhajana, one of the nine great sages, and is elaborately explained in the Sarva Samvadini Jiva Goswami's commentary on his own Sandarbha. Anta Krishna refers to one who is always thinking of Krishna, always has Krishna within. This attitude is predominant feature of Srimati Radharani. There's another name of Krishna, Radharani, Krishna Mai. Always, her mind is always on Krishna. Even though many devotees always think of Krishna, none can surpass the gopis, among whom Radharani is the leader in thinking of Krishna. Radharani's, Krishna's consciousness surpasses that of all other devotees. Lord Chaitanya accepted the position of Srimati Radharani, understand Krishna. Therefore, he was always thinking of Krishna in the same way as Radharani. By thinking of Lord Krishna, he always overlapped Krishna. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who is outwardly a fair complexion, very fair, with a complexion like molten gold, is simultaneously manifested his eternal associates, opulences, expansions, and incarnations. He preached the process of chanting Hare Krishna. And those who are under his lotus feet are glorious. Anta Krishna Bahir Gauram Darshitangadi Vaibhavam Kalo Sankirtan Adyasma Krishna Chaitanya Ashrita Om Jnanatamanandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Let me also just read the translation once again. I take shelter of the Lord Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is outwardly of a fair complexion, but is inwardly Krishna himself, and the age of Kali displays his expansions, his angas and upangas, by performing congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Katanchana smite yasmin dushkaram shukaram bhavet vismite viparitam shat shri chaitanya namamitam. So this is the first and second verse. The first verse of the Sat Sandarbha, Bhagavat Sandarbha, this is the Mangala Charan. And Mangala Charan is usually something that the author composes. But here, Jiva Goswami is taking a verse from the Bhagavatam. Any guess why? Why does he not just compose Mangala Charana? Because Mangala Charana is usually done by the author itself. Bhagavatam is complete, yes? So how did Bhagavatam? He wants to quote from Bhagavatam as authority. So yeah, he wants to distinguish these teachings between a panta and a sampradaya. Panta means like you have Kabir, you have some famous saint, famous personality, and it's all, the whole religious tradition is coming because this one saint was there. And, very important personality. Where he's distinguishing, this is sampradaya, this is actually coming from ancient tradition, this is coming from the line of Vedic authority. Similarly, this verse is about Lord Chaitanya, and he's speaking about Lord Chaitanya. But actually, the Goswamis don't speak much about Lord Chaitanya. They speak about Krishna. Pretty much always speak about Krishna. And if you read, not so much about Lord Chaitanya. And this is for the same reason. They wanted to make that express that this is sampradaya. This is not panta. This is not just a charismatic tradition, like we say a personality cult, that we found this one saint we really like, and then we're really into this person, and then it goes on. But rather, this is eternal tradition. So this is the beginning of the Bhagavata Sandarbha. So you have the 6 Sandarbhas. And the first one is Tattva Sandarbha. Tattva means, you have what does the word tat mean? That. You just put the H in English, very easy to understand. So that is something you can identify. And va means ness, yeah. So you put thatness. So it means something that becomes, it has its own substance, its own, it has its own truth. It's something that you can identify. And so the Tattva Sandarbha, one of the first things it discusses the pramana and prameya. Pramana is what is the evidence, and what is the thing, how do we know something, and what is that thing that is to be known? And so first thing that Jiva Goswami discusses is the Vedas. Well, he discusses the pramanas, the different pramanas. What are some of the forms of evidence? We'll start on this side of it. What's evidence? Like there's a murder. What are some of the evidence? You can eyewitness. Logic. There's only one other person in the room. What else? Authority. So the security guard, the authority is there, and he had the camera, and he saw the whole thing. What else? Those are the primary. That is called logic is anuman, and then you have who said witness is pratyaksha, and then you have the authority, shabda. Here we can show maybe. Let's see. We have maybe some. Here we go. Pratyaksha, anuman, arsha. Arsha is authority of sages or some great person. Upamana, by analogy. So analogy, you take something that is known and you compare it, and you compare something that is unknown. Artapati. So Artapati. Artapati, one of the cantos of the Bhagavatam is missing, and we know it comes in 18 volumes. One of the volumes is missing. So that's by abhav, non-existence of the object. Conjecture, artapati, unexplainable situation. Oh, Such and such das is pretty fat, but he doesn't eat during the day. So he must eat at night. That's the activity. Sambhav by inclusion. So $100 means you automatically, have the amount of $50. Aititya by tradition. Cat in the basket. These are all can be boiled down to three, but these are all different elements of cheshta. Cheshta means something that is not verbal, but it's indicated, and shabda, words of reliable authority. And so, beginning, Jiva Goswami analyzes, okay, how do we understand the Supreme beyond everything? Out of all of these, there are three main, and the primary would be shabda. Just like if you want to know what's happening in Bangladesh, what do you do? Check the news. You have any family you can call? You just get that authority, get that testimony. That's another word for it. You got testimony. Okay, let's sure it doesn't turn off. You get the testimony, and it should be reliable. First of all, it should make sense, some reasonable sense. Like Krishna presented his testimony, his evidence, and then Arjuna said, "Show me it." Pratyaksha. He said that this whole 10th chapter, the son and all the Krishna trivia questions in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and then Arjuna followed with 11th chapter. Can you show it to me? And then Krishna said, okay. And Prabhupada said, yeah, this is, if someone presents something that they're a god, then this is what you can follow with. You can follow with Arjuna's example of presenting. So because we have the four defects, Brahma means we confuse things. Sometimes we see one thing for another. Pramada means this is like sometimes just by being inattentive, we don't understand things. That is often known as the word illusion as well. But pramada is like that inattentiveness. We actually don't become conscious of things without giving our attention. We could be in a big cafe and hear, and there's a bunch of noise, but when we put our attention, then we can actually hear. Just like in Ayurveda, it says taste your food, because then when you taste, you put the attention there, you can digest. Vipalipsa. Although we have these defects, weakness of the senses, sometimes confusing one thing for another, or actually not perceiving due to inattention, we present ourselves as authorities, and we have a desire to even deceive others. Some of the four defects that don't qualify us to understand. Therefore, we have to understand through Veda. So we have all these Vedas. Look at all these Vedas. 1,130 samhitas in all of each of the four Vedas. You have the Brahmanas and Aranyakas, Upanishads. So samhitas are for this will show the samhitas are for the brahmacharis. They learn all these mantras. And the grihastas, this is the brahmana portion, they're performing the rituals. The Aranyakas, Aranyaka means forest, like Vana means forest. These are for the Vanaprasthas, and the Upanishads are for the sannyasis, those who are very serious about understanding the Supreme. And these Vedas, they would be memorized in insane forms, completely insane forms. So there is what Samhitapad. So we chant the verse, Dehinosmin yatha dehe. And then look at these different ways of chanting. So first, look at Jatapad. First word, second word, first word, second word, third word, second word, third word, fourth word, third word, fourth word. And you have one of them is even invented by Ravana. He has his own part. One of these 11 is his. First word, look at this, number 10. First word, second word, fifth word, sixth word, second word, first word, sixth word, fifth word. First word, second word, fifth word, sixth word, second word, third word, sixth word, seventh word, third word, second word, first word. And this way, they would they would memorize the Vedas inside and out, every single little thread. So if you study, the Sanskrit, within 12 years, no problem. You should be able to, or even less, you should be able to read and translate Bhagavad Gita. You should be able to understand the shlokas, the language of it. You might not be enlightened, but at least you should be able to understand the language. Puranic Sanskrit, same thing. You should be able to understand it. Add another 30, 45 years, you will not be able to understand Vedic Sanskrit. So Jiva Goswami says, the Vedas, yes, but they're actually not so good. They're inaccessible. No one can understand. Not only can they not understand, but the content is also not very clear. Therefore, what completes the Vedas? How do you say complete? Purna. So the Puranas are what complete the Vedas. Purana doesn't only mean oldest, but it means it completes. And therefore, there are many Vedic statements to this effect. And you only can complete something if it has the same quality. How do you complete a broken gold ring? With more gold? Same gold, yeah. So similarly, he establishes with many Vedic statements, many Puranic statements, many Mahabharata statements, that the Puranas are essentially the same as the Vedas, just as good as the Vedas. They are the completion. Actually, they're better than the Vedas because they present the conclusion in a much more clear manner. But then one may ask, well, then which Purana? Because there's so many different divinities that are emphasized in the Puranas. And so throughout the Puranas, they recommend that to make this hierarchical understanding of Sattvika Puranas, Rajasic Puranas, and Tamasic Puranas, and mixed. And they say the Sattvic Puranas are those who constantly glorify Hari. That's what we need. And then to further clarify what is the highest, then they say that you have to find the Purana that begins with Gayatri. The Purana that begins with Gayatri. It completes the mission of the Mahabharata, which is to glorify Narayan. And it is the commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, it expounds in the Vedanta Sutra, and it has 18,000 verses. And so there are two Puranas that fit some of these categories. That is the Bhagavata Purana and the Devi Bhagavata. And the Purana that was indicated was the name Bhagavata. But one may think, oh, okay, maybe it's the Devi Bhagavata. Maybe it's the Devi Bhagavatam. But there are certain things that are missing that were also indicated. It said that this Purana has the teachings of the horse-headed one. And so that is the Dichi Muni, which is not in the Devi Bhagavatam. Also, this Purana clarifies the meaning of the Vedanta Sutra, which is also not clarified in the Devi Bhagavatam. And so certainly the Bhagavatam is considered the essence of the essence, is the clear essence of all Vedic philosophy. So now we have what is Vedic philosophy, what is the essence of Vedic philosophy, what is the most essential authority. Then we ask, what is the philosophy? And in relation to Lord Chaitanya, what is Lord Chaitanya's philosophy? Oh, here we have Ravana. The number 2 was created by Ravana. So what is the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya? You meet a religious professor at NYU, and you ask, okay, what's your philosophy? What do you tell him? Oh, okay, so you just said some magical words. What does that mean? And what's being dual and non-dual? Okay. And so, yeah, Lord Chaitanya's philosophy is this Achincha Beta Beta Tattva, but more clearly, it means that this is supreme Bhagavan that possesses energies. And therefore, he has this inconceivable oneness and difference between his energies. And so this is Lord Chaitanya's philosophy. And how is that in connection to the philosophy of the Bhagavatam. So Lord Chaitanya's philosophy is, yeah, there is God, and God has energies. What is it? Shakti Parinamvad? So this is Lord Chaitanya's philosophy, and then what he does is he connects Lord Chaitanya's philosophy and proves that this philosophy of Lord Chaitanya is simultaneously the same philosophy of the Bhagavatam. So where would you find what is the teachings of the Bhagavatam? What is the philosophy of the Bhagavatam? Where would you find that? You know, it's a very big book, 18,000 Sanskrit shlokas. Now, if you count BBT, what do you count? 14,000. Who knows the answer? Why is it 18,000? Toilet. Yes, yes. So if you have a recipe for banana bread and you have one of these insane bananas that are this big, you can't just use the recipe as it says one banana or two bananas. You have to use a more precise measurement, you know. So similarly, the Bhagavatam, there was one Vaishnava. This question was actually not really resolved until about 10 years ago. Maybe about 10 years ago. I know Suhotra Swami, he had his website, veda.harikris, krsna.cz, which was also called the Vedic Encyclopedia. And he had so much content there. And that question was there, but there was no answer. And it seemed like nobody had an answer. But one Vaishnava Brahmana in India, he counted every single syllable of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. And he found out there's two things. If you add like I believe it's the uvachas. Maybe they're invocation verses, just like in Bhagavad Gita you have like ta panchada shodjayaha. You know, now we're beginning chapter 15. You have these invocation and you have these outro verses as well. Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Supana Sastri Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Sastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Purushottama Yoga Panchada Shodjayaha. So you have these outro verses. That might be there, but at least maybe could be just the uvachas or whatever. But he says, if you do by the Anushtup meter, which is the standard Vedic meter, Bhagavad Gita meter, Dehinosmin Yata Dehe, 32 syllables, broken up. Then if you divide all of you take all the syllables of the entire Bhagavatam, you divide that number by 32, and you get 17,998, which is not 18,000, two less, two syllables less, or two slokas worth less. And so he also discovered that since the Bhagavatam is an expansion of the Gayatri, which is the glorification of Sri Krishna, then the Gayatri meter is a smaller. How many syllables are in the Gayatri? 28? Yeah. Then it becomes out, and you divide that same number by 8, the number of syllables in the Bhagavatam, you get 18,000 exactly. 18,000 verses. BBT, if you're counting by verses, very long verses, 5th canto, and it's going to come out to be 14,000. And it's not that there's something missing. There's definitely 18,000. So he establishes Bhagavatam. So in these 18,000 verses, how do you know what is the philosophy of the Bhagavatam? Where do you find like a summary of it? Canto 1, chapter 2. That's very good. 2nd canto. Chatur Shloki, yes. So Chatur Shloki is one of the places that Jiva Goswami goes to. Well, why was the Bhagavatam written? Satisfied, and he had his whole samadhi. So that's actually one of the important chapters there, is what was the realization of Vyasa that led to the Bhagavatam. And so that's in chapter 7 of the 1st canto. And actually the entire philosophy of Bhagavan, the Lord and his energies, is there in 2.5 verses. Because otherwise you look at the Bhagavatam, you might find a verse that says Lord Shiva is the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the churning of the milk ocean. and you'll be like confused. Or there's so many other things. It's a very large book. So you have this first canto, chapter 7. It is said, so Shaunaka is there, and he says, Nirgate narade sutta bhagavan badarayana shutavam tad abhipretam tatakim karod vibhu. So what did this great personality do after he had been instructed by his guru? So this is, you have fourth, fifth, and sixth chapter. First, he is telling a story where he, fourth, fifth, third is what the incarnations. Fourth is his story. Fifth is his dissatisfaction, and sixth is Narada's instruction. And then, what did he do? And so, then akarod vibhu tasmin svashrame vyaso badr shandi mandite. So he went to this Badrik ashram, beautiful place surrounded by berry trees. Asinopa pashprisha panidadho manaswayam. So there he engaged in this deep meditation. And we'll just skip right to the verse. Bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranihite male pashat purusham purnam achatad apashrayam. So in his meditation, he saw purusham purnam, the complete person. He saw this maya chatat apashrayam. He saw the material energy. And then the next verse, yaya samhito jiva. He saw the jiva. So we have Bhagavan, you have external energy, and the tatashta, the marginal potency. There's still one missing. Where's the one that's missing? Internal. And in the verse, it's described that the internal potency of the Lord is in the word Purusham Purnam. If you say full moon, you don't say, oh, I saw the moon and its internal glow. It's it's part of it's there. It's just part of the moon. So the internal potency, Purnam, Purna means full moon. And then that's also indicated by Bhakti Yogena Manasi, but primarily by this Purusham Purnam. So the Lord, his internal energy, external energy, and his marginal potency. And then the same thing with the Chatra Sloki. It'll indicate the Lord, his internal energy, external energy, and marginal potency. Therefore, the two things are there. Both things are indicated. Both the Bhagavatam and for Chaitanya's philosophy. There we go. So yeah, I have this inductive. Learners use their own observations and experience by their own theory. Start with the observations and conclude with the theories. That's inductive. But deductive means the teacher presents a theory. The authority presents a theory. Then the students look at the case studies to test and increase their understanding. So you test the testimony. You get information that supposedly came from Bangladesh, auntie calls, but then you test, okay, she says there's a big giant lizard blowing down buildings with blue fire. And he said, auntie, you're just watching TV too much. Starts with a theory, conclude with observations to confirm and deny. Inductive versus deductive. There you go. Good. Sandipani. So yeah, we have the Smriti, Shruti, and Nyaya. Who knows, for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, what are our three sources of these three? Shruti is, our primary Shruti our Shruti is Ishopanishad. Our Smriti is Bhagavad Gita, and our Nyaya, Nyaya is like Vedanta, is Bhagavatam. Yes, these are three sources there. And so we go back to this verse, this Anta Krishnam Bahir Gauram, which is text 52. Krishna Varnam Tvasha Krishnam. So when it says Krishna Varnam, Tvasha Krishnam. So he is black color, but he is not. So this Tvisha Krishnam, as we know, Sandhi can be yes or no. It can mean like you say, nectar of instruction. What is that verse? Yama, what is the Atyaharas prayascha prajapaniyamagraha jana salangasalosham chapta utsahanishchaya dayat tat karma pavartana sangatya. What is on? The rules and regulations, too much attachment, too much neglect. Niyamagraha, yeah, that's agraha. Yes, it could be too attached or not attached, too neglectful. So this verse can say, he's black, Krishna, this person, he is Varnam, his color is black, and he is black. And you're like, okay, what is that? And it brings in the question, when Sanskrit, they don't do repetition. They don't uselessly just repeat words. Why is it saying he's black, and then it's saying he's black again, or he's not black? So we can look at the commentary of the Charyas before the time of Lord Chaitanya, because we find that this verse is very clearly talking about Lord Chaitanya. And so how do the Acharyas deal with it before the time of Lord Chaitanya, like Sridhar Swami? And so he approaches it, he says, Krishna Varnam. Okay, so he is blackish, but he is not a dull black. He's lustrous. Tusha Krishna. Tusha, he's got a nice luster. He's beautiful. But then he's also not very satisfied with this. And then he continues on. And he basically says that for Kali Yuga, for in the age of Kali, it would be Krishna. He will be the deity for the age of Kali. Not necessarily descending, but he will be the Lord of the age of Kali. He'll be the worshipful object. Which is not wrong. But to Shah Krishna, this is, so Krishna Varnam, he's Krishna inside, but also Krishna Varnam means he's also always chanting Krishna. Varna means he's, what's in the, let's see. Varna can mean his name contains Krishna also, so is the Lord Chaitanya. Varna means class, and also means, so he's Krishna. His name also contains Krishna, but Trisha Krishna. But he is lustrous, or he is Akrishna. He is not black. He is what they call the opposite, the golden or fair complexion. And also even the other terms that are in the verse. Why would you say he is there with his limbs? Narada came to the kirtan and he brought his limbs with him. And you're like, okay, what is this? And so you see, like Sridhar Goswami, he says, okay, he brought him with his heart. That's one way he described it. But Upanga and Parshadam, Parsha is where you get parikrama, like around, and shat. Shat means Upanishad. Upavishatu means to sit. So those who sit around him, those who hang around him, the Parshads, those are the 6 Goswamis. So Angas and Upangas, these are all transcendental associates and expansions of the Lord who appeared. And they're coming to associate with Lord Chaitanya and assist in his pastimes of performing Yagyar Sankirtana Prayar Yajanti Husumeda Saha. The last part of the verse is very easy to understand. This. The first 2 lines of that, the original verse, that's the part where the previous acharyas, they can't really, it's hard to dive into unless you know about Lord Chaitanya. Then it makes sense. Then the whole picture is there. Without understanding Lord Chaitanya's appearance, the repetition of Krishna and Krishna is unclear. All these things become clear. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya is known as Chana Avatar. These things are very hidden, and they're only known after he appears. They were written in such a way that no person could come and advertise them as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because it was a great mystery until it's It's like one of those stereoscopic images where they say, okay, cross your eyes and look at it. And you can't see it. You can't see it. And then once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like, okay, you see it. Once you see it, oh, there it is. This is an appearance of the Lord. Makes all these shlokas. I think previously when I gave class here, we read maybe 20, 30, 40 different verses from all the different authoritative statements of Vedas, Puranas, Samhitas describing the appearance of the Lord in Upanishads. So let's stop here and see if you have any reflections you'd like to share, comments, or questions. Hare Krishna. Om Tat Sat. Narada Muni.
Okay. My first question was, I saw that there was apurusha, some type of what is it? Apurusheya, and then purushaya shabda. I was wondering if you could explain the difference between the two.
Or was that in one of the slides?
Yeah,
Okay, where is that?
that's my first question.
So yeah, Veda is called apurushetva. It means it's understood to be like Krishna, having no creation. It is the breathing of Lord Vishnu, but it's not. And there is some kind of logic that was presented that if something has like a person and a creation that it comes from, then there's some discrepancy or failing in it. It's lacking in something. So the understanding of Vedas is that it's not. It's although it is, we say it's coming from the Lord, like it is His breath. It is eternal. It's just it has no. Therefore, it's considered authorless. And the exact scenarios that like the Puranas are Vedic, and then one may ask, okay, how can something be Vedic if like if there's some distinction? How do you say something? This is gold, and then this is also gold, but then wait, why isn't it exactly the same? And so there's some minor distinctions. Is that the Puranas always appear in the exact same, the Vedas always appear in the exact same form, exact same meter, exact same verses, and the names of the speakers are exactly the same. And where the Puranas come in different eons, different yugas, they appear, or kalpas, they appear differently, different sizes on different planets. But Vedas are always exactly the same. Where is the apurushetva? Oh, okay, purushatva, apurushatva. There you go. So you see, shabda. The Vedas are apurusheya, and these are authorities that are individuals. My grandmother said that you should do this thing because I heard in our village we do this. So that's aititya by tradition, and arsha by the authority of sages. And like we said in the beginning, he did not. He quoted the Bhagavatam directly, rather than writing his own Mangalacharnas, to show that this is not panta. This is not just some um, um, charismatic tradition of a great, famous spiritual saint. Rather, this is ancient Shabda. More? Yes, Narada.
I find it so interesting to look at that you were thinking about the Acharya's commentaries before Mahaprabhu appeared and how they reconciled this verse. And because Mahaprabhu's the Chana avatar, he's hidden. And so I'm just thinking like, I've spoken with people, for example, from a Madhva Sampradaya or, who reject the authority of Lord Chaitanya, even though it's cited in the Bhagavatam and it's very clear that who else would this be? So I'm wondering, like, if you have any understanding as to how to establish that authority of Mahaprabhu. I mean, I guess you can just quote the Bhagavatam, but it's like I'm wondering why it is that they don't accept Mahaprabhu as being authoritative. Because if they're Vaishnavas, then they have to accept the Srimad Bhagavatam. So I'm wondering, like, how do they, like, for example, in the Mahabharata, it talks about Lord Chaitanya. Like,
Yeah.
one of the Vishnu Sahasranama mentions Lord Chaitanya. So I'm wondering, like, how do they reconcile those things? I don't know if you know anything about
I'm
that.
not sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's there in the Bhagavatam. We find that Jiva Goswami, in his Tattva Sandarbha, our philosophy, our tradition is much more in line with Ramanuja Sampradaya. That he quotes Ramanuja in his, basically he's dealing with Advaitavad so much more. He quotes Madhvacharya in generally just in the sense of the verses that he's quoting, and because many of these, by the time of Jiva Goswami, many of these verses, many scriptures were already not there. But when you, okay, this Acharya is quoting it, means he must have had the book. He's not, the Madhvacharya is not going to quote some literature that he doesn't have access to. So to bring up a quote, he'll quote Madhvacharya, but to speaking philosophically, he'll quote Ramanuja. But yeah, of course, Ramanujas were also probably, they're not going to say, yeah, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna experiencing the highest bhav of. So I wouldn't know how they would approach what their arguments would be. Yes.
I have another question. Natabar wants to take breakfast, so we can finish here, and I'll ask you after.
Okay, one question. Yeah.
Oh no. Okay, I remember. So what I find also interesting is that Jiva Goswami is really like Radhika Raman Prabhu talks about this in his Sandarbha lectures. He talks about it in talking about the Tattva Sandarbha, and how Jiva Goswami really shows like our point is we're willing to take something from anywhere in order for like inspiration and to like prove our point. But on the other hand, we're also very strict as to like what the process is and what the goal is.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, can't that kind of seem like kind of like accepting and rejecting in one sense? Like it's just like, okay, well, Ramanujacharya or Madhvacharya, for example, says that dasya prema is real prema. And
so yeah, in one term you could call it hierarchical inclusivity. And so there's inclusivity, but we accept something as a highest, and that is love and devotion. The highest would be that of the gopis. And as many devotees said, if you have something better, please show us. We will accept something better. But if there's something, we will stick with that until we find something better than that. Philosophically speaking, scripturally speaking.
Yeah. That reminds me of what Prabhupada said when someone said, well, what if Krishna isn't God and there's a God of Krishna? And Prabhupada said, then we will worship that God. But until then, we will worship Krishna. Gives there in the Tats and Darvas is that, how do we know? What would you say? You use the word
hierarchical inclusivity.
It's a great word, hierarchical inclusivity. It's like that. He gives that argument for God. How do we know that Krishna is God? Well, it's simply a question of if God is all opulences, God is the most opulent personality, and how do we define God as being having all these different qualities? Then that personality or that definition of God that exists somewhere that is the most high definition of God, that has to be the true God. So if you could show a definition of God that's more God than Krishna, like who could be more God than Krishna? He'd like, yeah, the whole mountain is
on his pinky finger. He has 16,000. Who's more opulent than Krishna? No one is. So
we brought that
therefore he's the
question
best.
out on Harinam once. We had that board and said, what is the no, we had another one that said, what is the what was that best definition of God or something like that?
Although it's interesting
Most
that
complete definition of God, something like that.
it's sometimes that when you talk to like impersonalists, or and you sometimes find them in the guise of other religions, like a Muslim, Christian religion. A lot of time, people who are a little bit more mystic in that practice will say, okay, well, actually the highest definition of God you're defining, but my highest definition of God cannot be defined. That actually, why is the highest?
He's defining it right there.
That it cannot be defined.
Yeah.
But he would say, no, it's not a definition, because I'm just saying that it's that which you cannot conceive. You conceive of it, then you limit it. So therefore, how can what you say be God, because you're limiting it?
And Krishna, he describes yoga maishwaram, that I'm going to explain something that is inconceivable. Now, isn't that just making it conceivable? So you get a hint, but you don't get the full conception. Just like we say, Caitanya-caritāmṛta, that we say the moon is over there by the branch, and it's not necessarily over there by the branch. It's just an indication. And so we have explanations that give indications, but it's not that the jiva with the explanation now has God completely subsumed in his consciousness, and he knows everything. So Ādi-Chandra, this Ādi-Chandra, that if you're trying to point out the moon in the sky, you'll say it's over there by the branch. But it's not by the branch. It's way further. So we try to understand Krishna, and we have explanations, and it hints at it, but it's only actually Krishna's reciprocation that he reveals himself and he responds, and then we get some.
What I would say to that person, it's not our definition that's defining our experience. It's people that have experienced Krishna that are then trying to bring that down into words, and then the words are spiritually empowered. Like if you read the words of the Vedas personified, the prayers of the Vedas personified, and also it's a Chintya Beta Beta Tattva. It's like, there is also that undefined Brahman. Brahman is just coming from Krishna's toe. Brahman is nothing. If he's trying to say something that's undefined, then that's just Brahman, oneness. Like, undefined soup, God is just a big cloud like that. It's like Krishna's way beyond that.
Another term, yeah. So you have the problem of evil, or the problem of matter being mundane and divinity being not mundane. And so how do these two things coexist? And so the impersonalists, they approach it by saying that the absolute is without any qualities, and they remove all the qualities from the absolute. And they'll say this material world actually doesn't exist and does not exist. And so the absolute is something very, very simple and very easy to kind of grasp, because it's just it's just everything. But yeah, whereas the material world becomes something very, very confusing, And the personalists, they say it's the opposite. We actually add in all the qualities on the divinity and say, yes, he has everything, but he has it in its most refined form, like you could say, paradigmatic being. He's the most refined being in existence. And material world is actually very simple, and it's divinity that's profound and that is can't be grasped. My buddies say the divinity, and they do say it's like you can't define it, but they also present it in a very simplistic version, where the material world is very complex and can't understand it all. Where the devotees say actually divinity is very profoundly complex, and the material world is quite simple. And instead of removing all the qualities, we add all the qualities. Okay. Om Tat Sat. Thanks a lot. Hey, God. Hare Krishna. Ram Ki Jai. Ekadashi. Mahatmya.